So we are at part 2 of the lottery mock draft. We are at pick number 5 with Cleveland. Who is on the clock? It is King.
That would be me. And I think that, Cleveland, like I said, another one of those picks where, you see who's on the board and you kind of just had to go with him. And I'm going James Wiseman. I think that, with the players that right now are at this point off the board, at this point, Cleveland, like I said, is another one of those teams that when you're in a position that they're in, you kind of almost had to go for who could very well be the best player that's on the board. So yeah, I'm, with everybody that we've already picked, I'm going James Wiseman, number 5 to Cleveland.
Even with Drummond, they just picked up Drummond.
Maybe it's a situation where perhaps, who knows? I mean, it's one of those things where perhaps maybe it could be something where maybe he may not necessarily get the minutes that perhaps, other picks may get, but like I said, sometimes when you go with those, when you go with those top players, it could be something where maybe it could split minutes. And then, also I had to remember Drummond's a little bit, up there too. So, so we'll see. I mean, I think it may be a better fit than what I think some people may very well be perhaps giving it credit for.
Drummond's still a youngin'. Drummond's still.
He's 27.
I was about to say, that's my generation. Don't they? He still got a couple more years in him.
Maybe. I think both y'all are on to great points. I feel Drummond's still in his prime to me. And either, he still has one more year with Cleveland, and I think this is a perfect pick and a perfect situation for the player, just because, who better to learn from and watch in Andre Drummond, because coming out, Andre Drummond was very similar in profile to what we see with James Wiseman. And I think a lot of people forget that Drummond was extremely raw coming into the draft. He had no offensive game to me at all. And I think Wiseman may be a little further ahead in that aspect, but, I think they're very similar players when you start to project Wiseman out in maybe 5-6 years. So, if you're Cleveland, you're like, okay, well, hey, sit behind Drummond for a couple of years and, come off the bench. I mean, these guys don't have to start right away, and a lot of them won't, because I don't take James Wiseman as a guy that's already a complete prospect. He hadn't played basketball in a year almost, so, there's going to be some adjustment to just playing the sport again. So, I mean, it's a perfect fit. I mean, I think this is probably out of the top 5, top 6 teams, I think this is probably the best fit for Wiseman in the long run. He may not get the minutes today. He may not be the star today, but 3 years from now, you're going to look up and you're like, okay, wow, that worked out. So,
and I think that that's really key. It's really a matter of, if it's something where he does sit on the bench and doesn't necessarily get those minutes, it's really all about it. Because when you're a young kid coming out of college, especially when you're a young star coming out of college, it's something where you want those minutes. Like you said, Shad, like you want those minutes coming out because you're still thinking that, okay, I'm just going to ball out and just, make mincemeat of the NBA the way I made mincemeat in college. But the NBA, as we all know, and like these young dudes find out real quick, is an entirely different animal. So they find out real quick that, that them days of dropping 30 or 20 or 30 a night in college, those don't necessarily come, especially if you're a young kid, in most cases. I mean, there can only be one rookie of the year. So I think that, like I said, that's why I took him, because I think that it's one of those issues where maybe he doesn't necessarily get those minutes early, but perhaps it could be a fit long term.
For sure. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, King. Go ahead, King.
No, I was about to say, but yeah, and I think it's, like I said, it's one of those things where, if you're a young kid and you're really thinking like, okay, because everybody wants to have a long NBA career. Not everybody necessarily pans out, But if you're looking at it from that sort of a standpoint, then it could be something where, yeah, we may not necessarily look at him as rookie of the year, but it could be something where maybe he develops into a player that can probably maybe give you 20 a game at the NBA level. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Wiseman is a very interesting prospect. Just like Keem said, I mean, being the number one player, watching the two number one players this past week, as they're going down the past number one players in the last 3-4 years, all of them have panned out except for Harry Giles, who is relative because kind of his situation and circumstance. Like he's still in the league and has been in the league a couple of years with his injuries. Is still I guess you can call that a win-win, a win for him in that situation. Whatever. Now you guys know what it is. Jeremy's got the Atlanta United shirt on. He's got the 3 Georgia voter stickers up behind him. He's in Georgia right now. We got the hometown Atlanta Hawks. ALeague is based in Atlanta. We all met in Atlanta. We all worked in Atlanta. It's time to go home. Jeremy, who are you picking with the number 6 pick?
I promise you, all of this was not on purpose. I definitely didn't think about the Atlanta United shirt, and I definitely didn't even notice the voters. I'm glad everybody got out and voted. That's important. I didn't even think about that anyway. But with the 6th pick in the 2020? Oh God, we're still in 2020, aren't we? NBA draft. The Atlanta Hawks select Mikey Williams. Is that possible? Because I'm gonna be serious. I'm gonna make a pick, but I'm gonna say Denny Avdija. Is that how you say his name? Denny Avdija. Small forward out of Israel. He's a big guy, 6'9", 210, playmaker, shooter. The whole 9. But I think that's a good fit just alongside. The Hawks don't really need another wing, but the draft is so weak this year. And I'm just being honest. The draft is so weak this year. Like, you just got to take the best available ball player on the court on the board. And to me, that's Avdija. None of these other guys are anything special to me. I'm sorry, but quite frankly, if I were the Hawks, I would as soon as Cleveland took James Wiseman, I would be on the phone trying to make a trade because at this point of the draft, I'm liking the offer with Boston saying, hey, let me get your 6 for 3 first-rounders and moving back and getting a lot of role players versus just taking 1 role player at 6. So, Denny Avdija.
We have a trade to announce?
No, that's a great point. That's a great point there of getting multiple role players instead of drafting 1 role player at 6. But I think guys like Tyrese Halliburton and Killian Hayes, those guys can be really good. I think they have a potential. And then Halliburton, not so much as Killian Hayes. I think Hayes has more star potential, but Halliburton's fit with Atlanta backing up Trey as a shooter and a taller guard. So you're talking about a better defender because he's longer. I think that could be 2 great options for the Hawks right there. It's just tough, but like you said, I think outside of those 2, like Isaac Okoro, I know a lot of people are trying to hype him up. Vassell, I really like Vassell's game. Vassell's game is really smooth. But like you said, he's like, what is his ceiling? You know what I'm saying? Is his ceiling just a great starter in the NBA? Or is it a star? We don't know. I think, but it's leaning more towards he can be a really good starter for a while in the NBA, which is Marvin Williams. So,
and there's nothing wrong with that. And
it's nothing wrong with it.
If I have 3 first-round picks and I'm taking straws on multiple guys and then I hit on 1 or 2, that's better than, drafting 1 guy and he not play at all, So.
Right, for sure. And then I think the thing about this draft, even though it's kind of like labeled weak, I think a lot of those late first round, second round guys have low ceiling. No, here we go again. I think they have low floors and extremely high ceilings.
Yeah.
So
there'll be a lot of guys in this draft that stick.
Yeah. They can be bust that like kind of like this is the reason your stock is so low, or they could be the guys that people kind of you look at a guy like Marcus Howard, you look at a guy like Peyton Pritchard from Oregon, you look at a guy like my guy Malachi Flynn, the kid from Washington, the Jaden McDaniels. Those guys can be like, you know, when you look at Isaiah Thomas pick 50th, Monte Ellis pick 40-something, Paul Millsap pick 40-something. Those can be some of those guys. Trey Jones. You know what I'm saying? Trey Jones can have a really good Cassius Winston. You know, but anyways, this is the first part of the mock draft. We're going with the guys who are projected at the first. And, you know, salute to those guys because they work hard to be in that position. We're not sliding y'all. We're just saying, y'all ceilings is kind of low.
It is what it is. What can you do? What can you do?
And now we have Detroit, which is me. I was like, who do we have next? It's Detroit. It's me. Killian Hayes is a guy who's been mocked to them a bunch of times. I think they really wanted LaMelo Ball, but the way the ping pong balls failed, I'm sorry, Detroit. That's a really tough break for them. You know, you talk about Minnesota is starving. Detroit, man. I mean, and then they have to deal with like kind of realities of being in Detroit. So it's just, you know, but I'm gonna go with Killian Hayes right here. Killian Hayes. I don't know. He's always been the guy I've seen on the mocks for so many months now. So I'm just gonna stay with that. No in-depth analysis why they picked Killian Hayes. Just
that name just looks like a Detroit player.
Detroit, yeah.
It just looks right next with Detroit.
Right. And next up, we have number 8. Oh, unless you guys want to say something about Killian Hayes real quick.
Only thing I will say is, like I said, I will say this. It'll be interesting to see how Killian Hayes pans out. I really hope that he pans out to really be like one of those players that we really talk about as being like a star class player from this draft. Because, you know, it's, you know, people say all the time, like it's, you know, that the NBA is a lot better when New York is relevant. I say it's a lot better when Detroit is relevant. Because Detroit's just one of those fan bases that I feel like is, you know, I feel like it's one of those things where, especially given that they were essentially maybe one bad Allen Iverson trade, by the way, I must have mentioned, back in the 2000s from being a dynasty team potentially, and that just messed everything up. And Detroit
they were done. They were no, don't do that, King. They were done. They were by the time they did that trade, that was 08, 09. They were done.
That was
Chauncey
06.
Billups, all them
06.
jokers. No, that trade was like 09 because it was with Denver. That trade was with Denver. So Iverson was already in Denver for a couple of years, which was about 06, 07. And then that trade was about 07, 08, 09. And they were done by then. Like those guys were old, you know. I think that trade came at an appropriate time. But also I'm going to say Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Motor City, man. Shout out to Motown. I never been there.
I definitely miss that being relevant. I'm with you, King. I feel like the NBA is better when that, because those people up there love basketball, man. So, you know, I know Michigan and Michigan State are great basketball programs. You know, and I feel like Michigan's just waiting to be able to root for their home team. So it's another one of those fan bases I feel for, because I know that that's one of the pillars of the NBA. It's one of those. To me, there's about 5 or 6 franchises that just kind of hold up the NBA: the Lakers, Celtics, San Antonio, the Knicks, and the Bulls. And I would throw the Pistons in there at 6. So, you know, those are the class of the NBA, and they need to be good again. And I feel like another thing about Killian Hayes, I really like his game. I almost picked him for the Hawks, but I don't know how he works with Trey. And, you know, you're trying to put together a team. You know, I don't know how that works. So that's the only reason why he was almost my pick. So that's a great pick, and I think, you know, it'll be interesting how they let him develop.
I think he's going to be a star, man. Like I said, I think he has a really good chance to be a star. You're talking about a draft where you don't know a lot of the guys outside of, if maturity doesn't get in the way of Ball and Edwards, you're kind of in the dark of who's going to be a star in this draft. So I think Hayes is one of those guys who definitely has star potential. And with that being said, we have pick number 8, which are the New York. We are the Knicks. New York, and it's Jeremy Johnson. Who do you got, Jeremy? Oh, by the way, happy birthday to Dimitri. It's his birthday. Shout out to them.
Is it me or King?
I think it could be me.
King just picked.
You picked Killian Hayes, right?
I picked Killian Hayes. Oh, my goodness. This is as long as 2020, man.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'll gladly take the Knicks.
Wait, hold on. We got the New York. Akeem with the pick. Happy birthday to Dimitri.
Oh, man. And, of course, just like Jeremy picked for the Hawks, him being a native Georgian, of course, I picked for the Knicks being a native New Yorker. Of course. Oh, man. Who? Now, that's a good one because, like I say, the Knicks are another one of those teams that probably needs, a little bit of everything. I mean, I know I've read some mock polls that have said that they need like maybe a point guard, maybe defense.
With the 8th pick of the 2020 draft, the New York Knicks select Jesus Christ out of Israel, Bethlehem, Israel. The number 9 pick is on the clock.
That's who Knicks fans probably wish they could pick. probably would. But I'm how about Devin Vassell? I'm gonna go with him for number 8 to New York, like you said.
So you're going against a guy I had going to New York because it felt right, like how Jeremy was saying, Killian Hayes just fits right with Detroit. Cole Anthony, man. Cole Anthony just seems like it just fits well with New York. He's kind of like one of the bigger names in the draft. Dad played for the Knicks, obviously. What do you think? What do you think about him, King?
You know what? And it's so amazing that you bring. It's so amazing that you bring him up because I remember. I believe I picked him in our previous mock. I completely forgot about Cole Anthony. I completely forgot about him. And there was, there was so much, I guess, hype, I guess, around, I guess you could say around Cole Anthony, I guess, as far as, where he's coming from and everything like that. And, I guess that, that would be a, a pick and everything. But now that I think about it, I may, I think I could very well go with that because I was sort of going between maybe Vassell and Anthony.
I'd like to announce a flip.
We have a trade.
That we do.
The 8th pick is Cole Anthony. Devin Vassell, sit your behind down. You have not been drafted. So. I am sorry. I'm sorry to this man.
Mm-hmm. He don't get picked though. He don't get picked.
He's been working out at the church around the corner from where we used to record, man. And
yes, man.
Well, because he went to school right around the corner from where we used to record. He went to Peachtree Ridge, which is right there from our studio. Yeah, it's crazy. That's like where if we were in person and we were all still in Atlanta, like he could very well, hey Devin, come around the corner and record at the studio. It would have been awesome. But yeah,
that would have been really.
Yeah. He's been working out at a church over there in Gwinnett County, and he said it'll be a dream to play for the Hawks. But sorry, Devin. Sometimes the cookie crumbles the way that you don't want it to work. Jeremy, I need you to be mature here. So with the number 9 pick, unless you got something to say about Cole Anthony, you got something to say about Cole Anthony?
Oh no, he had no end of the year. And you can see it with Kobe White that as the season went on, he just started adding stuff. And by March he was playing some great ball. And you just didn't get to see that with Cole.
I mean, but when did the Knicks care about basketball? So, with the number 9 pick, we have Jeremy, the Washington Wizards. Bradley Beal. I got shooters in DC. Bradley Beal. Go, 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 go.
Well, I'm gonna go with Bradley Beal's replacement because I do think Bradley Beal will be moved at some point. I'm gonna go with Devin Vassell. I think, we've been talking Vassell. Is it Vassell or Vassell?
I think it's Vassell. I think it's Vassell, but it's not. I apologize. I'm sorry.
If we're saying your name wrong, we apologize. But I think
you are still invited on the podcast.
Yeah, man. That's gonna be the ninth. Was this ninth pick? I feel like he will eventually take Bradley Beal's spot next to John Wall. I do think they're gonna make the decision that it's more beneficial for them to build a team with John Wall just because he's a point guard. One, those guys are harder to find than it is to find a scorer. And I feel like Bradley Beal is destined for either Brooklyn or Atlanta or at some point the Lakers maybe. So that's just going to happen, and it is what it is. So, yeah.
Did you just say Bradley Beal to Atlanta?
Yes. That's I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if that trade is announced because I think the Hawks have a lot to offer for him, and I do think that makes plenty of sense. You have two of the best scorers in the NBA on the same team. It's exciting, and it instantly makes the Hawks a threat, especially if we have another situation where the playoffs are in a bubble. Because if you get two guys that get hot in the bubble, you don't have to worry about crowd noise, and we've seen how that works. You can do wonders once you get in the tournament in the bubble. So
I think Cam would have went crazy in the bubble, man.
Absolutely,
That's
his setting.
Crazy.
AAU is just AAU ball at that point.
I think really like Cam's one of his biggest adjustments is playing in a big arena or like people and all those eyes, especially being a Duke kid, being famous, from the time of high school and having all these expectations of you weren't the biggest name at Duke, but everybody at Duke was like, Cam is the best player. Like, for people to constantly say that, like, you have that expectation on you coming in, it's like you're finally, not under Zion's wing. I don't know. I think the pressure kind of affected him a little bit early on before he got really settled and got comfortable out there on the court. Another thing I wanted to say, who are you willing to give up if you're Atlanta for Bradley Beal? And we are an Atlanta podcast, but, I just wanted to – and Brooklyn, for that matter, since we're kind of in that realm.
Well, I would say, a deal of Collins, the 6th pick, Herter, and either Reddish. Either Hunter or Reddish. I would prefer it be Hunter. I would prefer that, but you then you look at Washington's roster with John Wall, Vassell, the 6th pick, Collins, who they would have to pay eventually, Collins. So he would probably be a 1-year rental. That's why I would throw either Reddish or Hunter in there with the pick. Then you bring Beal over. You got Trey, Beal, Reddish. You find somebody to play power forward and Capella. That's a nice little team. So
I don't know, man. That 4 has got me a little nervous because it's like, like if Bill puts up 50 and they lose, and Trey's been putting up 50 and they've been losing, it's like who's gonna play defense? And then it's like you trade, and then you got the 4-man. Like you said, you'll find someone to play. 4s aren't that easy to find either. So I don't know about that trade if I'm Atlanta, so Brooklyn, who do you have for Brooklyn? I guess I would just assume LeVert is kind of their biggest piece that they have.
Yeah, Allen, LeVert. They would probably have to give up picks for the next 3 years. And Prince. And I think that would get it done for Brooklyn. Just because that's a situation where, Washington would just be caving. It's crazy because when teams move superstars, you never get equal value. There's no way you get an equal value. Like, no matter how many picks you give up, there's no guarantee you get the guy that's going to be that guy. So it's almost like you're caving to appease the star that's going to leave you eventually anyway. So
where's Westbrook gone?
That's a good question. I don't know where he fits. I mean, I think Houston was his last chance to be the guy that moves the needle and gets traded to somebody, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's going here." I mean, I could see. Honestly, I don't know where Westbrook goes.
How do you feel about the PG for Westbrook rumor?
That would be hilarious. That would be funny, honestly. I don't know. I mean, it's the same. It's the same player for me in the playoffs. So, you send Russell maybe to the Lakers or the Knicks. I mean, his
He
the
doesn't
places
fit
where
with anybody, man. Like
he
you
doesn't.
said, like he doesn't fit with like he kind of just forces his way in on any roster.
All he does is put up shots. That's all he really does.
Oh, hold on now. Let's not get disrespectful. What he averaged? What 3 triple doubles in a row? He had what? So you had to average at least, you know what I'm saying, 10 assists. So he passes the ball, and Harden does too. Yeah. It's just their games are just so aggressive.
Yeah,
it's just too aggressive.
You have to pull apart your team to make them work. So
you got to have a team that has none, like a team like Charlotte. They have nothing to lose, you know. Where a team where you could go in and you do everything.
Yeah.
Know? But the thing is, we've seen that with OKC when everybody left OKC and it got them nowhere. So it's like, what's the point? So what's the point of Russell Westbrook? It's the thing I'm getting to. I feel like his best bet was like Kevin Durant staying in OKC, and then them still trying to figure how to get over that mountaintop.
Somebody said the other day that Westbrook's future is essentially him coming off of the bench. And I do not think that Westbrook is going to accept a role where he's coming off of the bench. Like, especially like you said, with him putting up triple doubles, I don't think he's going to accept a role where all of a sudden he's going to like transition into a bench player. Like,
hey, yo, Pete,
no way.
They said I got to come off the bench.
Hey, Pete, they said I got to come off the bench.
Wow.
You know what, though, Akeem? I don't think he has much of a choice. Like, if any of the teams that are contending pick Russell Westbrook up, well, okay, say tomorrow a trade is announced where he's going to the Lakers. Who do you put on the bench for the Lakers? I'm not starting him with LeBron James. I'm not doing that.
Isn't that benching Rondo? I'm benching Rondo in a second.
But I get that. I mean, he's better than Bron. He's better than Rondo. And to be honest, Westbrook's probably better than about 90% of the point guards in the NBA. But it's about how he fits with the other pieces. I can't see him playing with LeBron James along with AD and being okay with taking no shots at all. So I don't know. That's a very interesting. Now James Harden has options. If James Harden wants out of Houston, he could fit anywhere. And
he passes.
He passes, and he's also not as abrasive of a personality. Westbrook has a little bit of a he's one of those types, man, and you just got to kind of let him have his space and do his thing. And, you know, some championship teams aren't built on that. So, I don't know.
Where does Chris Paul go?
The Lakers.
That would be ironic.
So if Chris Paul goes to the Lakers, where does Russell Westbrook go?
Home.
Oh.
He's from LA.
Ringless.
Overseas?
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't Paul George, my man. Don't Paul George, my man. Don't Paul George, my man.
I mean, for Russell, it's probably just the Knicks or bust. Or New Orleans. Him and Zion could work.
Maybe. I wasn't even thinking about that, but maybe.
But Ingram, but Ingram is finally getting his shine, and you know he's an all-star, and he's getting his shots. Like, so then you I don't know. What do you
Well,
think about that?
yeah, Ingram's gonna get his. It's time. It's Ingram's time to shine. But that team is capable of making the playoffs. We saw how close they got. They just needed that veteran.
And that's a fair trade too for Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Straight
a
up.
perfect trade for Holiday.
Yeah.
Holiday goes to Houston. Whew,
A couple picks.
That's a good fit for him. Yeah,
and he's been a subject to trade rumors for a minute now.
Yeah,
and he can opt out after next year too. So it's not a long-term commitment for Houston. So,
but that New Orleans, I don't know how Westbrook, because it's like Lonzo's getting it going. I'd like New Orleans just got something going on, man.
I'm not refusing Russell Westbrook for Lonzo Ball. I'm sorry, LeVar.
All right.
If I got a chance to get Russell Westbrook, and the only thing stopping me is Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball can go play at the YMCA. All I care.
I feel like Westbrook is really gonna stunt Ingram's growth.
I do too. But do you want to win, or do you want the growth of a kid that may never be able to take you to a championship by himself?
That's a good point. Russell Westbrook's an all-time great. So so you gotta, if it's one of those things where all of a sudden the opportunity comes and you could get him on your team, you take him. But I think also, like you were saying earlier, Westbrook sort of, is sort of something where because of the way that he plays and just because of his personality, it's almost like unless you could really find a really good fit for Russell Westbrook, it's almost like you have to almost wreck it. I won't say wreck an entire team, but it's almost something where it's like you have to basically make a trade or see if you could sign him, and then all of a sudden, eventually bring in guys and let guys go, because it's almost like you have to pretty much build a team around him. And now that I think about it, the New York thing, you may be something onto with the New York thing, because he's a star. And we all know how much Knicks fans love stars. So you get him on the Knicks, you get him playing in MSG, then you could have something if you build a team around him.
Yeah. You throw a Russell Westbrook trade in there with the Knicks and then go out and get a guy like Joe Harris in free agency. I don't think they're a championship team, but they're definitely a playoff team. I definitely think they're more relevant than they have been in a decade. So,
the last time that they were relevant was
13, 14. I was about to say, don't say a decade. Be respectful of that 13, 14 team. That was a good team, man. That was a good team. Hey, very frustrating for me. Very frustrating team for me. I'm like, man, the Knicks good, man. Copeland,
Jeremy Lin.
But before the shooting, hey. Copeland before the shooting, that was a different beast, man. That was a good player, man. And Mike Woodson was the coach. That was his best year as a coach. But yeah, man, we're in the last 5 minutes of this portion. So, the last pick of this portion is Phoenix, and that pick is me. I have no idea what Phoenix got going on. Phoenix, obviously, they had the hot finish over there. So I think I'm gonna just go Killian Hayes. No, Killian Hayes. Tyrese Halliburton is what I meant to say. Tyrese Halliburton. I think that's a good pick. I think he's the best player on the board at this point. Ooh, Sadiq Bey, he cold, man. Sadiq Bey cold. So salute to Sadiq Bey, but I'm gonna pass on him, and I'm gonna go with Tyrese Halliburton. I feel like he'll go well with Booker over there in that backcourt. That's a nice 1-2 punch. And, have Rubio coming off the bench. I think Rubio is okay with whatever at this point of his career. He just kind of wants to win and get some minutes. So, yeah, that's why I'm going, Tyrese Halliburton.
Rubio should have played. He should have played like he was playing the U.S. national team every night, and he would have been okay. But he couldn't do that. So
they tried to call him Pete Maravich, man. I didn't forget. Y'all tried to call him Magic Johnson and Pete Maravich in 08. I did not forget.
But Phoenix, like I said, they're in that mode, but it's so amazing because Phoenix is one of those teams that is, I think, really a product of what we saw in the bubble, because they went on that hot streak in the bubble. because they were really, like I said, one of those teams that really benefited off of that. But once they start going back into arenas, I wonder how they're going to adjust back to that. It's just something where you sort of have to wonder, how they're going to translate that momentum to when we start playing basketball again. Because number one goal for Phoenix is obviously make sure that we can keep Book. If we can make sure that we can keep Book, then we got something going on, because we don't want to see him in another uniform, because right now he's our franchise. So, if it's something where, it fits well with that offense and it fits well with him, then, good for Phoenix. Absolutely.
If Philly,
I'm Book.
If Philly calls tomorrow and says, "I'll give you Ben Simmons for Book," are you saying no?
That's a good question. If I'm Book for Ben Simmons, I don't do that trade. I'm
saying no if I'm Phoenix. But salute to Ben Simmons. I feel like he gets a lot of disrespect. Salute to Ben. He's a heck of a player.
He does.
Yeah.
And I really feel like he's gonna be the one that gets the unlucky draw and gets sent out of Philly, because it's obviously not working with him and Embiid. And I really feel like that's more on Embiid than Simmons. I've never had a problem with Simmons. I've always had the problem with Embiid. So, but I feel like there's gonna be a decision made at some point at that team, and one of them got to go. So,
everybody doesn't have to shoot threes in 2020.
Exactly. I'm with you.
Who knows? It could be something where with Phoenix, with Philly hiring Coach Rivers, who knows? It could be something. It could be made. That could be a decision that could be made within the next year or the next few months.
With the hiring Daryl Morey is, I think, when everybody's like, okay, it's gonna happen, because if he's Mr. Analytics, Mr. 3-point, you got Ben Simmons, the one that everybody picks on for 3-pointers, it's gonna happen.
But are we talking about James Harden in Philly at some point?
That would be Harden.
That would be something else.
That'd be crazy. That'd be like Keem just said, something else. But
y'all must thought that I was gonna whisper the whole time.
Y'all don't want friends, I want Audis. I don't want cars, I want Rarries.